What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here. So here we are again, losing another final again to Liverpool again in penalties again. And yeah, my only question is, what kind of genius manager takes a game that is kind of firmly in your control? Like, yes, Liverpool were still keeping a lot of possession of the ball, but whenever we got it, it definitely seemed like the instruction from Tuchel was, all right, we need to keep possession. We need to slow it down. We need to play for penalties, guys. And if you don't believe that that was the instruction, why were his subs solely focused on keeping it 0-0, making sure we didn't give away a goal? What kind of genius manager goes into a game where you've already lost against the same team in penalties previously and thinks, now we got him this time, guys? I mean, penalties are a complete crapshoot, mostly based on mental games, which they have the mental advantage because they beat us the first time. But surely this time we got him. We're going to do it this time. And then you go and you lose again on penalties because you're an idiot. Tuchel is an idiot. I've already wanted him gone for a little bit now, ever since he's shown in some of the previous games, and suddenly our top four spot came under pressure because he showed what an idiot he could be. But this, for me, should be a lot of people's final straw to say, okay, we're finishing this season without a trophy. We're barely going to make top four again. Why should he stay? Oh, well, the Champions League. Okay, yeah, he won one major trophy. The Super Cup and the Club World Cup, granted, we didn't really have to face hard teams, and we still narrowly eked out both of those trophies. But he had one good run in a cup that ended in a trophy. The rest of them have ended in loss and failure. And mostly because he doesn't know what he's freaking doing. How many times does he have to prove it before the people in charge say, you know what? Maybe he's not the genius everybody made him out to be after last year's Champions League win. Just maybe. Because at this point, I mean, you really look at how many tournaments we've made it to the final and not won. It's more of a fluke that we won the Champions League last year than it is the standard. So clearly, there have to be some questions asked. And I've already seen several people come to his aid and come to his defense because, oh, he's still good, he still does all this great stuff, blah, blah, blah. Okay, look, you do not go into a final where you've already lost on penalties before and go in and you sub on Espilicueta for Chalobah, which is a defensive switch, and then Loftus-Cheek for Pulisic up top. Not even in extra time, in second half of extra time. So clearly, this is just, we need to get more defensive cover, and we need to get somebody up top that can just run, work back, defend for us, because we're not scoring a goal, so let's just accept the draw and go to penalties. We're Chelsea. We don't accept draws. We don't play for a draw. We don't play for freaking penalties. That's not the type of team we are. I don't know why Tuchel's got that in his mind, that that's what we do, but he's done it for a few games, and it's only worked, twice? The other two times it did not. So we're 50-50 as far as playing for penalties. There's no excuse. There's no excuses. And for me, again, I'm a lot more critical. So that's why I've wanted Tuchel out for a little bit. This, for a majority of the fans, should be like, okay, enough's enough. You had all this season to get something done, to do something productive after last season. And we've taken steps back. We've taken so many steps backward to where now we're still where we are in the league, still barely holding on in our top four spot, possibly going to end up in fourth again. We've been knocked out at the quarterfinals of the Champions League, lost the final of the Carabao Cup and the FA Cup. So what have we done this year? Again, Club World Cup and Super Cup aside, and that was just a one-off game against Villarreal. We barely won that one on penalties. And then Club World Cup, again, we didn't play anybody of note, and we still had to go to penalties in one game and went to extra time in another, I believe. But either way, it's not good enough. And those final subs for me, Barkley should have been, I mean, somebody should just come down. I don't know who's in charge of firing Tuchel, but I assume they were at the game. As soon as he subbed on Barkley, the guy should have sprinted from the stands, run out there, and told Tuchel, "You're gone." Because there's no excuse for subbing in Barkley. I don't care if he hits his penalty. That just shows you only brought him on to take a penalty because you thought you could win penalties, and again, you did not. So that proves Tuchel made a stupid decision, and it cost us another trophy. And now all of a sudden Liverpool, oh, quadruple, quadruple, all of the media, quadruple, quadruple. I have to hear about it for the rest of the season instead of us cutting them off and saying, you know what, no. We're going to come out there, we're going to beat you, we're going to show you what we can do. And the game was there for us to win it. I mean, we took it to them in the second half. We showed them what we could do. They were really dropping off. And even in extra time, there was a chance for us to go at them and actually try to win the game. But then Tuchel said no. No, I think I've got the mental side of things figured out here. I think we're going to win on penalties. And then we didn't. So, yeah, Tuchel for me, I mean, he's been gone in my mind. This should be the last straw in most people's eyes. And if it's not, then you're just a cheerleader. So put on your pom-poms and be like, oh, we support you no matter what, even if you're sucking. Because that's not a fan. A fan wants a team to do well. They don't want to keep a manager at the club that's not going to do his damn job. So anyways, on to individuals. Mendy, I mean, he's not a penalty kick keeper. I don't think Kepa is really a penalty kick specialist either, even though some people think he is. I think the last one against Liverpool showed that he's not. But yeah, Mendy, I mean, he just doesn't read it very well. And the only one he saved was against somebody he knows very well because he plays on the national team with him. So that just goes to show you he doesn't read the penalties very well. He had to kind of rely, I think, mostly on his reactions. And even then, most of them are well struck enough that he's not getting across in time. So I don't know. I don't know why he's not better at penalties because I feel like with his athleticism he should be. But aside from that, I mean, he had to make some good saves throughout the game, so for the most part he was fine. Chalobah in defense again and another clean sheet, so no reason why he shouldn't continue to play for the final 2 games of the season. But I'm sure Tuchel will find some reason why Chalobah can't be playing, even though we've kept clean sheets with him 2 games in a row. But yeah, I mean, he's a solid defender. There were some times when he got caught out with Luis Diaz, but for the most part, he did well to track back, get behind the ball. And I'm looking at that going, if that's Christensen, he's fouling Diaz and getting a yellow or giving them a penalty. Chalobah at least works hard enough and he's got enough pace to get around behind whenever he does lose track of his man back there. Silva, again, I think he's lying about how old he is because, I mean, the man just goes. He doesn't stop. I really hope he stays at this level for next season because that's going to be the only way that we have any chance of winning anything is if he stays and he stays at this level that he's been playing at this season because, oh my gosh, he's been phenomenal. And today was another great example. He just has it. He has the understanding and the know-how of how to defend. So yeah, another good game from him. Rudiger had a couple of bonehead moments again where he's just doing something stupid, bad challenges, or going into a tackle that he leaves him out of position because he doesn't have any right to be up there. But for the most part, he's fine. He did his job much better, I thought, than the past 2 games. He had fewer mistakes today than he had in the past two games. So yeah, overall he was fine. James on the right side, solid throughout. I would have liked to see a little bit more productivity in the final third. Just his crosses were okay today. They were better than they were in some previous games recently. But I still feel like his crosses aren't quite the same quality. Like, if this is his standard, which is generally pretty high than the average, which is down here, I would say he was about here today. He's still not quite up to that brilliant cross and always finding his target. But it was better. It was closer today. And the crosses weren't just giveaways. They actually did give somebody a chance at least to get on the end of it. It's just, like I said, his standard from last season was he always found his target like at least 5 out of 6 times crossing into the box. It's always finding a head. Somebody's right there because he put it right on their head. And I just haven't seen that from him recently. Alonso on the left side, kind of up and down game for him, which he tends to have. There were moments when he was good, and then there were moments when he's given the ball away way too cheaply, and then he's out of position, or his defending isn't good enough. So it was all over the place for him today, but for the most part, he was okay. He did okay over there today, but we do need Chilwell, and we need better left wing back options for next season, so hopefully whoever's in charge of that will do their job and make sure that we actually do have options in case Chilwell gets hurt again. Jorginho and Kovacic in the midfield. Kovacic, I was a little surprised to see starting after the challenge on during the midweek, but thought he was fine today. He didn't really look like the injury was bothering him. He was the first one sub, so maybe by the end of it he was. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, very energetic in the midfield again. Still want to see that final product, but for what he does, keeping possession in the midfield, knocking it around, and just kind of that pacey, energetic closing you down, he does it very well, and it makes it difficult for the most part for midfielders to play in there as long as they don't have help, which most of the time Liverpool does. Jorginho, again, another very Jorginho game from him where he did okay in keeping possession, but what we needed today was a little bit more creativity in the midfield. We needed somebody to unlock the Liverpool press a bit better. What he does is essentially keep the ball, and that's fine, but Liverpool press means eventually they're going to keep the ball, and now we're giving it away from a dump ball because they like to press you with that possession. So we needed somebody today that was going to turn out of the press, who was going to get out of the pressure and get the ball downfield so that way they couldn't press us high, and Jorginho is not that type of player. So, but defensively, I thought he actually looked okay today. Typically, his defending is not good, and it's slow, and he gets turned too easily, and it's way too easy to pass around him. His tracking isn't great, which there was one cross that he completely lost track of his man. But, I mean, yeah, today I thought he made a few actually decent tackles and was in the right position for the most part. Into the front three, so it was Pulisic, Mount, and Lukaku again, which I really was surprised by that. I expect to see at least one change, maybe see Havertz come on, which I'm pretty sure Havertz was on the bench. I'm going to check that real quick while I'm talking about Mount. Mount today, for me, was very solid. Still, I mean, he's had these games before where he's very athletic, he's very energetic, he's moving around, he's constantly putting pressure on the defense, all of that, but the final touch, the final shot, the ball in, just quite not there. He did have some good moments where, I remember the one in particular where Pulisic should have scored and didn't. Okay, Havertz wasn't on the bench. All right, I thought he was. But yeah, the one cross where Pulisic just missed, or the one where he sends it in and Lukaku overruns it. There were a couple where it felt like it was the right ball, just the person he was playing it to didn't read it. But there were still other moments where I feel like he had another option, or he could have played it a little bit quicker. But for the most part, he did his job perfectly fine today. Kept pressure on the back line. He did work back and helped out defensively at times. So, yeah, overall, I thought he was fine. Pulisic, ironically, one of our best and also one of our worst players today, because very energetic, very dangerous today. He was constantly getting in the right places to have a shot, to have a chance. But he was just terrible finishing today. Honestly, it reminded me a little bit of what we typically see out of Werner. The one that's constantly in the right place at the right time to have a shot, but missed all of them. And that it's what draws the ire of fans most of the time. You put in all this good work, you get on the end of all these great chances, but then you don't finish it, and then the game ends 0-0. Yeah, it can be frustrating at times. So appreciate the hard work that he put in today. I appreciate him making the great runs that opened up spaces. But, I mean, you got to finish. You got to finish at some point, because especially the fact that he's been finishing before. Like with Werner, yeah, there's a bit of a history where he's been doing this for a while, ever since he's come in. For Pulisic, I mean, he's shown he can finish when he wants to. So today was a drop for him. So, yeah, I expect a bit more out of him, I guess. And then Lukaku just wasn't really involved. Had some decent moments. I'm not saying he wasn't involved ever, but you look at the whole of the game, I just feel like he wasn't really there for us. We needed him to make some good runs for us from time to time. There were some times we get a ball out wide, or to Pulisic, and he turns, and I'm thinking, play Lukaku into space. But then you pull back the camera, Lukaku's on the other side of the field, standing next to Van Dijk. So where are you going? What are you going to help us? How are you going to help us there? You're not making a run that's going to help us in that situation, so what are you doing? And that's where I do feel like Werner may have helped us a bit more today with his runs. I feel like he would have done better at getting in behind the defense, especially because Liverpool tends to hold a very high line. Now, granted, would he have done anything with it at the end of it? That's kind of where he tends to get benched more often than not. But I'd rather see somebody who's going to make those runs to open up the space for us a bit more and let us get out of this pressure that Liverpool constantly have us under, rather than a striker who's just going to stand up there and wait for somebody to play it to him so he can hold off a challenge that's probably going to end up losing the ball. Because then the ball just comes right back at us, and now we got to defend again. So, yeah, just a little frustrating from Lukaku. As far as the subs are concerned, Conte coming on for Kovacic, I mean, yeah, he's energetic. He comes on and he does kind of what Conte typically does, makes some good challenges. He's all over the place. On the ball, still a little iffy. You know, and I'll admit that's something that he's not typically been well known for in his game. Like, even moments earlier in the season where he gives away the ball and leads to goal. So, yeah, that's part of his game that he still struggles with. But today, the defensive side of things looked to make up for that for the most part. So I feel like that part of his game definitely came back today, and it was good to see because we really needed him in the midfield to sort of marshal any chances that came our way, and then also it forced him to get it out wide, which I will say, I didn't talk about this for Alonso and James, really disappointed in their desire to close down crosses, especially against a team where you know Robertson and Alexander-Arnold, they're going to send in really good crosses if you don't close them down and make sure they don't have time. And both of them today, Pulisic as well, because he was guilty of a few times of not going to close down Alexander-Arnold quick enough. You can't just watch them send in a cross. You got to get out there and close down quickly because you don't want them to just cut you, but you got to get out there quick so they don't have time to just pick their head up, take a touch, send it in. And it happened 5 or 6 times today. How they didn't score off of one of them is beyond me, because typically that's what happens. But yeah, it was really frustrating because it happened more than a couple times. So very disappointed there for both of them. And I forgot to talk about that. But yeah, Conte, when he came in, though, he did make sure that a lot of their play in the midfield, the interchange going on in there, it wasn't as effective. And then Ziyech came on for Lukaku, which was a weird one for me, because I do like the fact that Ziyech's getting a chance to show what he can do. However, you've just taken off Lukaku, which means now Ziyech's great crosses in are going to Mount and Pulisic, who are obviously so well known for their ability in the air, right? So I don't really know why that was. I don't know why take off Lukaku. I thought it would have been much better for Pulisic, just so at least he's got a target to look for in Lukaku. Not saying that Lukaku was moving a whole lot today, but he would have given you a better option in the air than Pulisic or Mount. So, but I mean, as far as DX is concerned, he put in a couple dangerous ones, but again, to nobody in particular. I do feel like there are times on the ball where he dwells on it a little too long, especially against a team like Liverpool. You got to move and play a lot quicker. And then the final two, final three, because Barkley. But yeah, Chalobah and Loftus-Cheek coming on, or Chalobah, Spilicueta and Loftus-Cheek coming on. They just, again, they felt more like we're just closing up shop. We're not going to let Liverpool get a goal, and we're going to take it to penalties. I don't know why, but Spilicueta showed his defensive capability a couple of times. I mean, he's solid back there still, even though he's had some iffy games recently. I still think he's got one of the best, he's one of the best defenders when it comes to one-on-one situations. So he did perfectly fine there. And Loftus-Cheek, I mean, he's much better coming out of the midfield, so I don't know what Tuchel's thinking putting him up top. I guess maybe he was thinking, oh, well, he can give us some height. But Loftus-Cheek is not somebody that I expect to be looking to get on the end of a header. That's not what I think of when I think Loftus-Cheek. When I think Loftus-Cheek, I think give him the ball, let him turn somebody and go on a run with the ball, because that's what he's good at. So play him a little deeper. If you're going to play him in the up top, play him in behind somebody so he can drop in, win the ball, and then go. But instead, they put him on the back line, which means most of the time he's having to run behind the defense. And I don't know what it is, but he's typically slower without the ball than he is with it. Don't know why that is. But yeah, it just doesn't make any sense. And then, again, Barkley, which bringing off Loftus-Cheek, I don't really understand. I guess Loftus-Cheek isn't really a penalty kick taker, so that was the thinking. I don't know. It just really, really weird from Tuchel. And it just, I mean, what it does show me is, again, he was deciding we're playing for penalties. We've got the penalties this time, which if you're going to do that, you better win the penalties. But if you don't, you're going to look like a fool. And this is twice now that looked like he was playing for penalties, because in the first game, we held on to that last sub. We didn't make that last sub because we wanted to sub on Kepa, and then you lost because you brought on Kepa and he missed his penalties. So 2 times now he's looked a fool. And that's 2 times out of how many finals? Like 4? Because there was, again, I'm not counting the Club World Cup, but the FA Cup from last year, loss. Champions League final from last year, win. Carabao Cup, loss. FA Cup, loss. So that's 4 finals now, and we've won 1 of them under Tuchel. So again, it's looking less like a standard to win trophies under Tuchel, and more like, that was just a fluke. I don't know how we won last year. It just happened. We got lucky. Which, I mean, we've seen it before with Di Matteo winning in 2012. Don't know how that happened. I think the main thing was just Drogba was phenomenal that year, and we had some good pieces around. But yeah, I mean, the next year, Di Matteo could not replicate that. We gave him a contract, and we saw just what qualities Di Matteo had. You know, yes, the players that he had the next year weren't quite as good as the year before, but still, as a manager, you should be able, if you're as good as winning the Champions League makes you look, the next year you should be able to go out and say, all right, we're at least going to be competitive, and he was not at all. Tuchel has at least kept us in the top 4 this season. However, he's shown in crunch games, in games where we need to win, we need to go out there and we need to take it to the other team. We've had several this year where nothing to show. You know, in the top 2 or 3 for half of the season, and then just drop off in form. And now we can barely win a game to keep ourselves in the top 4. Again, 2 finals, lost both of them. Same team, same way, same result. And then Champions League. We came back, did well against Real Madrid in the second leg, but then didn't make any subs and lost that game as well. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm sick of watching it. I'm sick of watching Tuchel constantly make stupid decisions. If I see Sarr at all for the rest of the season, I keep making the joke I'm going to fly over there and punch him in the face, but there's got to be another thing I can do. I'm going to leave an angry tweet about him. I'm just kidding. I'll do that anyway, even if he doesn't play Sarr. But anyways, yeah, that's it for me. So let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts on the game today? Let me know. We can talk about it and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Chelsea reviews, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.